Leadership Styles, History of Leadership Theory, Comprehensive Guide, Leadership Styles and the History of Leadership Theory. 1. Introduction to Leadership Theories. Leadership is a pivotal concept in both organizational and psychological research. Historically, leadership understanding has evolved from anecdotal insights to more structured scientific analyses. Despite extensive research, leadership remains one of the most studied yet least understood phenomena in the behavioral sciences. This guide traces the development of leadership theories from the early 20th century to contemporary times. 2. Trait theories. The Great Man Approach Overview Era, early 20th century focus, identifying inherent traits and characteristics of great leaders. Key idea: leadership qualities are innate, and studying historical leaders can provide insights into effective leadership. Key concepts. Great man theory. This theory posits that leaders are born, not made, and that great leaders have inherent traits that set them apart. Bowden's study, 1927, equated leadership with personality traits, though later studies revealed inconsistencies in behavioral patterns among leaders. Criticisms. Inability to identify consistent traits across different leaders. Difficulty in emulating traits of past leaders in modern contexts. 3. Influence era. Overview era, mid-20th century focus, the dynamic between leaders and followers. Key idea: leadership involves influencing followers through a combination of positional power and personal influence. Key theories. Coercive power. Leaders use positional authority to enforce compliance. Persuasive power. Leaders leverage personal charisma and influence to motivate followers. Advancements. Recognition of the difference between positional power, authority, and personal power, influence. Shift towards understanding leadership as a relationship rather than a set of traits. 4. Behavioral theories. Overview era, 1950s–1960s focus, what leaders do, rather than who they are. Key idea: effective leadership is characterized by specific behaviors that can be learned and applied. Key models. Blake and Mouton's managerial grid, a framework for understanding leadership behaviors in terms of concern for people versus concern for production. Theory X and Theory Y, McGregor, differentiates leaders based on their beliefs about follower motivation, either assuming followers are passive, Theory X, or self-motivated, Theory Y. Impact provided actionable insights for managers to improve leadership effectiveness through specific behaviors. Highlighted the importance of balancing task-oriented and people-oriented behaviors. 5. Situational and contingency theories. Overview era, 1960s–1970s focus, the context in which leadership occurs. Key idea: effective leadership depends on the situation, and different contexts require different leadership styles. Key theories. Fiedler's contingency theory. Leadership effectiveness depends on the match between a leader's style and the situational context. House's path goal theory. Leaders must define clear goals, provide guidance, and remove obstacles to help followers achieve success. Vroom and Yetton's normative decision model advises leaders on decision-making behaviors that are most likely to result in positive outcomes based on the situation. Significance. Recognized the importance of situational factors in leadership. Emphasized that leadership is not a one-size-fits-all approach. 6. Transactional leadership. Overview era, 1970s–1980s focus, the exchange between leaders and followers. Key idea: leadership is based on transactions where leaders provide rewards or sanctions based on follower performance. Key theories. Leader-member exchange, LMX, focuses on the relationship quality between leaders and followers, where different followers may receive different levels of attention and support. Social exchange theory. Leadership involves a mutual exchange between leaders and followers, where followers provide loyalty and recognition in return for leader support and resources. Implications. Highlighted the importance of leader-follower relationships. Suggested that leadership effectiveness could vary depending on the quality of these relationships. 7. Culture era. Overview era, 1980s focus, leadership embedded within organizational culture. Key idea: leadership is about shaping and maintaining a culture that enables followers to lead themselves. Key concepts. Cultural climate. Leaders create an environment that fosters self-management among followers. Self-managing work teams. Leaders establish cultural principles that guide teams to operate independently. Impact. Recognized the role of leadership in shaping organizational culture. suggested that leadership is not just about directing but also about creating conditions for followers to thrive. 8. Transformational leadership overview era, 1980s present focus, transforming organizations and followers. Key idea: leaders inspire and motivate followers to achieve higher levels of performance by aligning their personal goals with organizational goals. Key behaviors: idealized influence, leaders serve as role models. Inspirational motivation, leaders articulate a compelling vision. Intellectual stimulation, leaders encourage innovation and creativity. Individualized consideration, leaders attend to the needs of individual followers. Significance: transformational leadership is seen as critical in times of change. Focuses on long-term impact, vision, and the development of followers. 9. Authentic and charismatic leadership overview era, late 20th century present focus, authenticity and charisma in leadership. Key idea: leadership effectiveness stems from the leader's authenticity and ability to inspire through a compelling vision. Key theories: authentic leadership emphasizes self-awareness, moral integrity, and genuine influence. Charismatic leadership focuses on the leader's ability to captivate and emotionally connect with followers. Impact: enhanced understanding of the personal attributes that contribute to effective leadership. Highlighted the role of communication and emotional connection in leadership. 10. Servant leadership overview era, late 20th century present focus, serving others as the primary goal of leadership. Key idea: leaders are servants first, committed to the growth and well-being of their followers. Key characteristics: Spears, 2002, listening. Leaders prioritize understanding the needs and concerns of others. Empathy, leaders strive to understand and support their followers. Healing, leaders focus on making themselves and others whole. Awareness, leaders possess self-awareness and a holistic view of their environment. Persuasion, leaders rely on influence rather than authority to lead. Conceptualization, leaders envision greater possibilities for their followers. Foresight, leaders intuitively understand the impact of decisions. Stewardship, leaders commit to serving the needs of others. Commitment to growth, leaders foster the personal and professional growth of followers. Building community, leaders work to build strong, supportive communities. Significance: emphasize the ethical and moral dimensions of leadership. Positioned leadership as a force for positive change in organizations and society. 11. Conclusion: the future of leadership theories. The study of leadership is ever evolving, with each era building on the insights of the previous ones. Contemporary leadership theories continue to explore the complex interactions between leaders, followers, and contexts. The search for a universal definition of leadership remains ongoing, with current research focusing on integrating various elements such as context, interaction, power dynamics, and transformational impact. Future leadership research is likely to further explore these dynamics, particularly in light of globalization, technological advancements, and changing organizational structures. As organizations face new challenges, the role of leadership will continue to be critical in navigating these changes and inspiring followers to achieve collective goals. A comprehensive guide on leadership styles, history of leadership theory, the Great Man era. The earliest leadership theories, often referred to as the Great Man theories, centered on the belief that leaders are born, not made. These theories emphasized identifying and emulating the inherent traits and characteristics of successful leaders from the past. The focus was on personality and behavior, assuming that understanding these aspects would enable individuals to become great leaders themselves. However, this approach faced challenges due to the lack of consistent behavioral patterns among historical leaders and the difficulty of replicating personality traits. The influence era. The influence era marked a shift in leadership theory, recognizing leadership as a dynamic relationship between leaders and followers. The emphasis moved away from personality traits and towards the active influence leaders exert over their followers. Early theories in this era focused on the leader's positional power and authority, often involving coercion or punitive measures. Later theories explored the persuasive power stemming from a leader's positive personality. This era highlighted the distinction between positional power and personal power, acknowledging the leader's ability to utilize threats or persuasion to achieve goals. The behavioral era. The behavioral era revisited the Great Man theories, but with a focus on leader behavior patterns. It examined what leaders actually do, differentiating between effective and ineffective leaders. The key takeaway was the balance leaders strike between task-oriented behavior and behavior aimed at individual satisfaction and group cohesion. The managerial grid, developed by Blake and Mouton, visually represented this balance, charting the concern for production against the concern for people. McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y further explored leader behaviors, categorizing managers based on their beliefs about follower motivation. The behavioral era concluded with the realization that leaders influence follower behavior indirectly by providing conditions and motivation. The situational and contingency era. The situational and contingency era introduced the context in which leadership occurs as a crucial factor. It acknowledged the myriad contextual factors surrounding leaders and followers, such as social status, power dynamics, the internal environment, and external factors like political, economic, and technological influences. This era emphasized that effective leadership requires understanding and adapting to the specific environment. It also suggested that certain situations naturally give rise to leaders who are needed to guide groups through those circumstances. Early theories in this era viewed leaders as more or less necessary depending on the situation, while later theories recognized the ongoing influence of social status and role expectations on the leader-follower relationship. The transactional era. The transactional era highlighted the importance of transactions or exchanges between leaders and followers. Theories like vertical dyad linkage theory and leader-member exchange theory emphasized the leader's role in initiating and sustaining interactions. It was recognized that leaders may engage with different followers in different ways. The emergence of leaders was seen as contingent upon their acknowledgement by followers. Social exchange theory proposed a more equitable exchange between leaders and followers, with no domination on either side. The leader's role was to act as a role model and facilitator, while also depending on the follower's competence. This era even acknowledged the potential for role reversal, where followers might temporarily assume leadership depending on the task. The culture era. The culture era positioned leadership as existing beyond the individual leader or follower, embedded within the organization's culture. It advocated for leadership to focus not only on increasing the quantity of follower outputs but also on improving quality. The leader's role was to create a cultural climate conducive to self-management and empowerment, fostering future leaders with shared values. Formal leadership intervention was primarily necessary during periods of cultural change. However, the constant change inherent in contemporary organizations meant that leaders were almost always engaged in transformation. The Transformational era. The Transformational era recognized the need for organizations to adapt and change constantly to survive in an ever-evolving world. The leader's role in this era is to facilitate this ongoing transformation by empowering followers to embrace and succeed in the face of change. The focus is on formulating a compelling vision and securing follower commitment rather than mere compliance. Transformational leaders are characterized by their charisma, their ability to inspire and motivate, and their genuine concern for the needs and feelings of their followers. They challenge followers to be innovative and creative, fostering a culture of high expectations. Beyond transformation, authentic and servant leadership. Building on the transformational era, authentic leadership emphasizes specific leader behaviors that can be developed, particularly those related to idealized influence and inspirational motivation. Authentic leaders possess positive psychological capital, strong moral perspectives, and high self-awareness. They are recognized by followers for their understanding of their own and others' values, knowledge, and strengths. They are confident, hopeful, optimistic, and resilient, serving as role models for follower development. Servant leadership, although coined earlier, gained prominence in recent decades. It emphasizes service to others and positions organizations as responsible for developing individuals who can contribute to better organizations and societies. Servant leaders prioritize the needs of others, demonstrating empathy, listening skills, and a commitment to the growth and well-being of their followers. They foster a sense of community and empower others to achieve their full potential. Conclusion. The journey through the history of leadership theory reveals a complex and multifaceted evolution of thought. While no single, universally accepted definition of leadership exists, contemporary theories recognize the interplay of various factors, including context, leader-follower dynamics, power, and the potential for transformation. The ongoing quest for a comprehensive understanding of leadership continues, driven by the ever-present need for effective leadership in an increasingly complex and rapidly changing world. Detailed explanation of each major era and theory in the history of leadership theory. Trait theories. The Great Man era. This was the first systematic attempt to study leadership, occurring in the early 20th century. The core idea was that leaders are born, not made, and possess innate qualities that set them apart from non-leaders. Key aspects. Researchers tried to identify specific traits that defined great leaders of the past. They assumed that if these traits could be isolated, they could be emulated to create new great leaders. A significant study by Bowden in 1927 equated leadership directly with personality. Limitations. There was no consistency in traits among great leaders. They often had wildly different personalities and behaviors. It proved difficult to convincingly copy the traits of past leaders. The approach failed to account for the role of situational factors in leadership. Influence era. This era marked the first major shift away from great man theories, acknowledging that leadership involves a dynamic between the leader and follower. Key aspects. Focus shifted from leader traits to how leaders actively influence followers. Early theories in this period emphasized the coercive power often tied to a leader's position. Later theories looked at the persuasive power embedded in a leader's positive personality. This era contributed to recognizing the division between positional power and personal power. Significance. It introduced the idea that leadership is not just about who the leader is, but how they interact with followers. It began to explore different styles of influence, from coercion to persuasion. Behavioral era. This era returned to examining leader characteristics, but focused on behaviors rather than innate traits. Key aspects. Researchers studied what leaders actually do, examining behavior patterns of effective and ineffective leaders. A major outcome was identifying the balance between task-oriented behaviors and people-oriented behaviors. Key theories included a. Blake and Mouton's managerial grid. This model plots a leader's concern for production against their concern for people. B. McGregor's theory X and theory Y. This divided managers into those who believe workers need constant direction, theory X, and those who believe workers are self-motivated, theory Y. Significance. It provided managers with implementable practices to improve leadership effectiveness. It recognized that leadership behaviors could be learned, not just innate. Situational and contingency era. This era introduced context as a crucial third dimension of leadership, recognizing that different situations might require different leadership approaches. Key theories. A. Fiedler's contingency theory proposed that leadership effectiveness depends on both the leader's style and the favorableness of the situation. B. House's path goal theory focused on how leaders motivate followers to accomplish designated goals by clarifying the path and removing obstacles. C. Vroom and Yetton's normative theory of decision-making provided a model for leaders to choose the most appropriate decision-making style based on the situation. Significance. It highlighted that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to leadership. It encouraged leaders to be adaptable and consider contextual factors in their approach. Transactional era. This era emphasized the exchanges or transactions between leaders and followers. Key theories are vertical dyad linkage theory, Dansereau, Grain and Hugger, 1975, focused on the unique relationships leaders form with each follower. B. Leader-member exchange theory, Dinesh and Leiden, 1986, extended VDL theory, emphasizing the quality of leader-follower relationships. C. Social exchange theory, Hollander, 1979, viewed leadership as an equitable exchange where followers provide esteem and recognition in return for the leader facilitating goal achievement. Significance. It recognized the reciprocal nature of leadership. It highlighted that leaders might engage differently with different followers. Culture era. This era viewed leadership at the organizational level, embedded within the organization's culture. Key aspects. Leadership was seen as existing above the level of individual leaders or followers. It emphasized creating a cultural climate conducive to self-managing work teams. Leaders were seen as culture creators and change agents. Significance. It broadened the scope of leadership beyond individual interactions to organizational impact. It linked leadership closely with organizational culture and change management. Transformational era. This era focuses on how leaders inspire and motivate followers to achieve extraordinary outcomes. Key components, base and evolio, are idealized influence, charisma, leader serves as an admirable role model. B. Inspirational motivation, leader articulates a compelling vision. C. Intellectual stimulation, leader challenges followers to be innovative and creative. D. Individualized consideration, leader attends to each follower's needs. Significance, it emphasizes the leader's role in transforming both individuals and organizations. It focuses on intrinsic motivation and higher ideals rather than just exchanges. These eras and theories represent the evolution of our understanding of leadership, each building on and sometimes challenging previous ideas. They reflect the complexity of leadership and the ongoing effort to comprehend and develop effective leaders in various contexts.